Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest online offering from the Edinburgh Fortean Society. My name's Gordon Rutter and I'll be hosting the quiz tonight. Normally, the Edinburgh Fortean Society meets on the second Tuesday of every month in a physical location. At the moment, we've been meeting in the Beehive in the Grassmarket here in Edinburgh. All of the meetings start at 7:30, and we're trying to keep to that schedule during these times. So basically, there's a new event on the second Tuesday of every month at 7:30. Next month's event will be a talk by Stuart Smith, and he'll be talking on the music of the Trows, which is a look at the folklore of the Shetland Isles. Tonight, as I say, we're going to have a quiz, and you can work by yourself if you're just on your own, and you can keep your own score. Alternatively, if there are two of you watching, then by all means compete against each other. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the question. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to a minute to think about the answer of the question. Then I'll give you the answer, and I'm going to trust you. I'm going to ask you to mark them yourselves. If you want to comment, there's plenty of space to comment on the Facebook page, and there's plenty of space to comment on the YouTube page. So either one, both of those will be sort of monitored, if you like, and we'll have a bit of a dialogue going from there. If anyone's wanting to get a subscription to Fortean Times, they've reached out to us and they've given us a special offer, and the details for that are in the YouTube description at the bottom of the page here, so please feel free to subscribe to that at a reduced rate. So, I don't think there's anything else that I want to say other than you can find out all about us by doing a search for Edinburgh Fortean Society online. You'll find all our details there. Alternatively, you can go to our website, edinburghforteansociety.org. You can follow us on Twitter, Edinburgh Fortean Society. You can follow us on Meetup, and you can follow us on Facebook. All of those things will be found by doing a search for Edinburgh Fortean Society. As well as these monthly meetings, we've also got a series of videos looking at my cabinet of curiosities. We've got a few other things coming up as well. We'll keep you aware of those things. I hope you enjoy the quiz. I hope you get great results. Thanks very much, everyone. So for our first round, we have a round testing both your Fortean knowledge and your geographical knowledge. So where in the world is the location for this famous film? So where was this film shot? You probably know it was shot somewhere in the States. So whereabouts in the States? Hopefully you've got an answer now, so let's have a look, see how many of you are correct. It was actually shot in California, right at the very top of California, in a location called Bluff Creek. And it was shot by two men, Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin, who were out hunting Bigfoot that day. They weren't trying to kill it, they were specifically trying to capture it on film. And on October the 20th, 1967, some people think that they were successful. They also cast some footprints from the particular site where they found this, and the film, it's claimed by those who doubt it that it was just a fake, it was a hoax, and several people have since come forward and have claimed to be the person inside the suit. If all of them are true, then it must have been a very crowded location within the suit there. I'll give you one more look at the film. This particular version has been stabilised, making it much clearer to see the Patterson Gimlin creature walking across. So, the classic image of Bigfoot for 1 point there, Bluff Creek, Northern California. Where in the world is Richard Freeman's second favourite cryptid found? It's the Orang Pendek. It's from Sumatra. But where is former Edinburgh Fortean Society and hopefully future Edinburgh Fortean Society speaker Richard Freeman's second favourite cryptid found? Where in the world is Sumatra? Have you been successful at spotting Sumatra? It's quite clearly not a state in America because we've gone away from that map, so it's a country somewhere in the world. Whereabouts is it? And it's right there, Sumatra. So there is Richard Freeman on the right, just in case you're not sure, and on the left is one of his books, Orang Pendek, Sumatra's Forgotten Ape, written by Richard Freeman. Reports of the short person, as Orang Pendek translates, have been coming for over 100 years, and there are lots of very reliable reports that have come in recent years. People who know the area, people who know the flora and fauna within the area, so good witnesses on the whole. You're probably sat there wondering what Richard Freeman's favourite cryptid is. I'm not going to answer that one. You can ask him that question yourself in one of our future Edinburgh Fortean Society talks when we have Richard along for a general interview, a chance for you to put your own questions to Richard and see what he thinks about various things. So where's our next where in the world? An item that some of you I know have seen in real life. It's an absolutely beautiful item, and it's, I don't think, giving anything away to say it's the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull, and Mitchell Hedges claimed to find the crystal skull in Belize. So the main question is, where in the world is Belize? But we've got a bonus point here because we're so generous at the Edinburgh Fortean Society. Some people claim that he didn't actually find it in Belize. So you've got two choices. You can answer either of these. You're not getting 2 bonus points. We're not quite that generous. Where geographically do some claim he bought it from? Or your other option, where do some claim it was made? So where in the world is Belize? Where do some claim Mitchell Hedges bought the skull from? And where do some claim that it was actually made? So, Belize is there, Central America, and where some claim he bought it was Sotheby's Auction House in London, and where was it made? Some claim it was made in Germany. Where in the world is the Shroud of Turin kept? Just in case anyone's unsure, I am actually wanting you to show where Turin is, not to just say, oh, it's in Turin. So Turin is northern Italy, quite close to the border with France. For those who've never seen the Shroud of Turin, that's it there. The bottom view that you're looking at is what you see when you look at it with your eyes. The top view is actually a negative, a photographic negative of the shroud, and you can see that it's a much more realistic image when viewed in negative than when it is viewed in actual life. This was something that was discovered in the late 19th century during one of the periodic expositions of the shroud, when a local photographer in Turin, a man called Secondo Pia, asked if he could have permission to photograph the shroud, and when he developed the negatives he saw this almost three-dimensional, much more realistic image that we see at the top there. So, Shroud of Turin, from Turin, which is northern Italy. With the Edinburgh Fortean Society, hopefully this is an easy one for you, ladies and gentlemen. Where in the world is the home of the Loch Ness Monster? I'm aware that not everyone doing this quiz is living in Edinburgh, so it might provide a few difficulties for some of you, but hopefully you know already that it's in Scotland, and it's the Great Glen Fault running from north-east to southwest direction in the top part of Scotland there. So Nessie, very famous cryptid. It's the one for which most other lake monsters and sea monsters get their name. Chessie, Nessie, all sorts of things like that, anything ending in issy. And sightings of Loch Ness monster date from over 1,000 years ago, but the real peak started in the 1930s, and sightings continue to this day. And here is a slightly corrupted Google Doodle to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the sighting of the Loch Ness Monster. The 80th anniversary took place in 2013, and I know a number of you attended the conference that we had. But there you can see the real proof of what the Loch Ness Monster is. It's actually a submarine driven by aliens. So, in that first round there, we had 5 points in total, plus 1 bonus point, so there was a maximum of 6 points in that round. Remember, there were 2 bonus questions, but you had to answer one or the other, so you couldn't get 7. So 6 points, how well did you do? What's our next round, I hear you ask? Our next round is what is? So what is a hand of glory? Well, a hand of glory is basically the hand of an executed criminal that has been converted into a candle, or 5 candles, as you can see here. I'm not going down the obvious joke of 4 candles. And when this was placed inside somebody's house and the wicks were lit, it basically caused a stupor to come over the people in the house, so that they remained asleep, they remained immobile, so that criminals could creep into the house and steal everything they wanted. Probably one of the most famous uses of a hand of glory is in the film The Wicker Man. The only alleged real hand of glory is not quite as impressive as the 2 examples we have here, and it's at Whitby Museum, and this is it here. Basically just a shriveled black hand, no evidence of any candle manufacture in that particular hand. What is a jackalope? A jackalope is a very rare North American animal from Wyoming. It was first discovered there in the 1930s. The bad news, I'm afraid, is it's not real. It was a manufactured hoax by a couple of brothers in Wyoming who started making these things and selling them out, and you can still buy them nowadays. So this animal is not real. Except we have this. This is a rabbit, and this is not a fake photograph. This is not a manufactured rabbit. This is a rabbit infected with a papillomavirus, and it produces these horn-like projections on the face of the animal. So it's possible that the original jackalopes were based on this sort of appearance here, or it may well just be coincidence, or it could even be that the papillomavirus version is just a tulpa. Who knows? What is a Volpatinger? Possibly a bit of a clue in my pronunciation there. It's obviously something Germanic, as I pronounce the W as a V, a Volpatinger. And there is a version of a Volpatinger. It's a German, more specifically a Bavarian version of the jackalope that we've just seen. The Volpatinger seems to be a lot more variable than jackalopes. Jackalopes are basically rabbits with horns, whereas a Volpatinger traditionally has wings, has a tail, has fangs, but it can also have duck's feet. The body that it's made from is very, very variable. The bird that the wings come from, very variable. The tail, variable. The one that we've got there, you can see, has a nice furry tail. My own personal Volpatinger has much more of a scaly tail. So it's a very, very variable creature. What is a Cloonie tree? So a Cloonie tree is a tree that is basically festooned in cloth. They're usually near holy wells, but not always. And the idea that is that the cloth is put there as an offering. Sometimes they're put there as prayers. Sometimes they're put there from diseased people in the hope that the disease will be transferred away from the person and remain in the cloth. What is Die Glocke? Die Glocke is German for bell, and in this context, in the Fortean context, Die Glocke is the name most commonly associated with a project that the Nazis were supposedly developing at the end of World War II. And it was supposedly a bell-shaped craft, as we can see here, which was capable of time travel. And one theory is that they were successful at this, and that one of these craft actually made it forward in time and landed in Kecksburg in the States on the 9th of December 1965. And Kecksburg is a famous UFO sighting, and this acorn shape or bell shape is the shape that the UFO was supposedly showing, and the shape of this has been compared to the claimed shape of Die Glocke, and this is said to have been proof that the Nazis actually conquered time travel. Who knows what they did with it after that, or before that. It kind of gets confusing with time travel. So let's move on. Five points in total in that round. So overall, the 2 rounds we've had so far, you've had a total of 11 points. If you've got 11 points, you've got 100%. Well done, absolutely excellent. If you've got 12 points, you've been cheating. So, what's our next round? Our next round is looking at people of a Fortean nature. So, who was assassinated on November the 22nd, 1963, and that basically launched a veritable cottage industry of conspiracy theories? And for a bonus point, who shot the famous film of the incident? And we will be seeing the famous film shortly, so you may wish to look away at that point. I'm sure everyone got there. It was John F. Kennedy. So here's the motorcade travelling through Dallas, Texas. Again, a stabilised version of the film so we can see it more clearly. And the film was shot by Abraham Zapruder. If you know who shot JFK, could you please get in touch with the Warren Commission? Who had a 1947 UFO sighting? Newspaper reports at the time gave us the term flying saucer. And for another bonus point, what other pivotal UFO event occurred in 1947? So who was it who gave us, inadvertently through the newspapers, the term flying saucer? It was this man, Kenneth Arnold, who had his 1947 sighting of several UFOs at a distance in Washington County, and he said that they flew through the air like a saucer or a stone that had been skipped on water. So they're flying through the air like a saucer that had been skipped on water. So some newspapers reported that as flying saucers. What other event occurred in 1947 that's kept the UFO community going ever since? It was, of course, the Roswell incident, Roswell, New Mexico, where a flying saucer supposedly crashed, and the US military were able to recover the remains of the flying saucer, and they wisely announced it in the newspapers. The following day, they issued a retraction saying it was a weather balloon, and here's Major Jesse Marcel showing pieces of the weather balloon. Or the alleged weather balloon, I should say. Who told us that ghosts can still feel the power of love, but he was eventually caught out by Creed Caffer? So who told us that ghosts can still feel the power of love, but was eventually caught out by Creed Caffer? It was Derek Acora on Most Haunted. So what do we mean by the fact that ghosts can still feel the power of love? It's not a Huey Lewis song. It's not any of the other versions of the song that were called that as well. It's this particular incident that took place on Most Haunted.
I know the name Robert walks round, and I know Mary does, but there's this peace and calm, spiritual activity there with... You all right?
What?
All right. What is it, Barry? You all right? Mary loves Dick. Mary loves Dick.
There we are, ladies and gentlemen. Definite proof that ghosts can still feel love. Mary loves Dick. How romantic is that for Mary and Dick? But what about Creed Caffer? Creed Caffer was a jailer who was present in a jail that they were investigating, and eventually Derek was able to channel Creed Caffer.
Okay. Oh.
Is he telling you something, Derek? Is Sam giving you a name?
Creed! Kev! Creed! Kev!
Oh, come on. Derek? 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 Carl, come forward, Derek.
Night.
Actually, it's not surprising that the surviving records show no mention of a man named Creed Caffer in the jail. He was actually a creation by the show's resident parapsychologist, Kieran O'Keefe, who suspected that Derek Acora was faking all of his information and all of his possessions. And what Kieran did was he created a character, and he made some notes on this character and left them around in his dressing room, that sort of thing. And eventually, when they got to the prison, he expected that perhaps Derek might mention this man, but in fact, we got that possession there. And despite the spelling they put on the caption, Creed Caffer is an anagram of Derek Faker. Didn't seem to affect his career. He came off Most Haunted, but after that he still had a lucrative market going around theatres and demonstrating mediumship. Who wrote a series of books starting in the 1960s that launched the ancient astronaut theory on the world? He wasn't the first to write on this subject, but he is by far and away the most famous. It was, of course, no one other than Eric von Däniken, former Swiss hotel worker and now ancient astronaut theorist, and still going strong, appearing on the History Channel next to you pretty much all of the time. The book that he initially wrote that launched this idea was Chariots of the Gods, was God an Astronaut. As we can see there, over 1 million copies in print in Corgi alone. He eventually opened a theme park. He's attending conferences all around the world. Still an absolute massive draw, still churning the books out. You know, he's now got an acolyte in the form of Giorgio Tsoukalos, the one who most of you have seen on memes with the idea of, I don't know what it is, but it was aliens. Who is not Jim Morrison, but he's probably the first name that comes to mind, particularly for Forteans, when you say the Lizard King. So here he is, former goalkeeper, former leader of the Green Party, former sports programme announcer, former son of God. It is no one other than David Icke. This is possibly the only video still extant on YouTube concerning David Icke. We're not going to say anything controversial because we don't want the video removed. But there he is, David Icke, believer in conspiracies, that the aliens are here, that shape-changing aliens are here, and that they are basically running everything. It did give us a rather memorable cover for Fortean Times. There we are, the Queen herself, shape-changing, baby-eating reptile. Generous in that round, 5 possible points with 2 bonuses as well. So in total, you've had a chance at 18 points. How well are you doing? Have you got those 18 points? Are you going to get any more in the next couple of rounds? Stealing from a popular TV quiz show, we have the missing vowels round. So what you're given is a series of words, and they've had all of the spaces and all of the vowels removed from them. What is the person? What is the word? What is the book title? I will tell you specifically what they are, what category they're in. You have to work out what it is that we're looking at. So, book title. Which book title is that when you put the missing vowels back in? It is, of course, the Book of the Damned, written by Charles Hoy Fort, after whom Fortean was named. So basically, our nominal founder, if you like. And there's one version of the multitudes of copies of the Book of the Damned that are available. If you've never read it, some find it a difficult read. He's got a quirky way of writing, but it's packed full of all sorts of information. So do yourself a favour and sort it out. Charles Hoy Fort, The Book of the Damned, originally published in 1916. Sorry, 1990. My apologies there. Sorry about that. Which is this one, another book title. If you've been paying attention, you should have got this one easily enough. We've already mentioned it just a few slides ago. This was Chariots of the Gods from 1968, courtesy of Eric von Däniken. Next one, another book title. It's a very famous book, and you'll probably know it from some of the things that were lifted from it from a certain Dan Brown movie. It's The Holy Blood and the Holy Grail, originally published in 1987, and it's one of the books that posited the theory that Jesus survived the crucifixion and went on to have a child with Mary Magdalene, and basically looking at everything that happened thereafter. As you can see, it's by Michael Bagent, Richard Lee and Henry Lincoln, and Bagent and Lee went on to sue Dan Brown over his use of the material in the Da Vinci Code. They claim the book is true, they claim the book is history, and as far as I'm aware, you can't have copyright over history. So, you know, if they claim their book is true, they were on a sticky wicket trying to sue him. For me, it's quite interesting to note that Henry Lincoln did not take part in suing Bagent in suing Dan Brown. Henry Lincoln is an incredibly litigious guy. He kind of does it a bit as a hobby, I suppose, in one way, and the fact that he didn't take part in this speaks volumes to me. We're now looking for a person. So who is this with their vowels removed? Painlessly, I hasten to add. It's none other than the father of Forteanism himself, Charles Hoy Fort. So again, if you were paying attention, I used his full name earlier on when we talked about the Book of the Damned. There he is there with one version of his game of Super Checkers, the original version of which, if you started playing it, would take something like a month to play. He managed to whittle it down so that you could rattle up a quick game in an entire evening. Didn't catch on. Who's this person? A lot of you may not have discovered the world of the Fortean through Charles Fort's original works. You may have discovered it through Fortean Times, and if you did, it's this person you've got to thank for that. It's Bob Ricard, founder and original editor of Fortean Times way back in 1973, and there he is, and he's visited Edinburgh and he gave a talk to the group several years ago now. Who's this person? It's sticking with Fortean Times. Bob no longer edits the magazine, but he does make active contributions to it. The current editor of the magazine is instead David Sutton. And there's David. So, how have you done, ladies and gentlemen? That's the Edinburgh Fortean Society quiz. So, how well did you do? There were a total of 24 points available. If you scored 24 out of 24, absolutely excellent. Let us know on the comments section and see how well you did. In case you're wondering exactly what my Vole Pottinger looks like, he looks a little bit like this. As I say, duck's feet and a bit of a scaly tail on this one. He will feature in one of the future Cabinet of Curiosities presentations, so please make sure you watch out for them. By the way, did you notice one or two clues? Eric von Däniken, Turin Shroud, Book of the Damned, Holy Blood and the Holy Grail, they were there if you're paying attention. I hope you enjoyed this evening, and I hope to see you at some of our future talks, either online or in person. Remember, next month's presentation is Stu Smith talking about the music of the Trows, folklore from the Shetlands. Thank you very much, everyone.